It's Christmas here on the podcast, so welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fantasy.
That's JB.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I didn't think we should just call it quits for the day.
Oh,
we've had such a day already, everybody.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Tina.
we had some technical issues there. I don't know what was happening, but when I started to say welcome, like the music started playing, and I didn't hear the music the whole time that the introduction was on.
I heard it.
Yeah.
It was very strange. Okay, so we want to thank you all for tuning in. We want to thank everyone who's listening to us on wherever you listen to podcasts. We love you all. We love to hear from you guys. Like hit all the bells and whistles and likes and loves and all that stuff. Even though sometimes we are glitchy and we have technical issues, we're just who we are.
That's okay, because according to Shell, it's gonna be a good one. That's so true.
Well, I'm glad our failure makes you happy.
It's not failure; it's opportunities to
Right.
pivot. Oh my word!
That's right.
Okay, so we do have some chatters already. Good morning, Piper. She's saying hello to everybody. Teresa says good morning. Shell, of course, we know she's here. Hiya, Shell. Catherine Carroll's here. She's saying good morning. And we got Maria Johnson all the way across the pond here as well. She says, hey, everyone.
Yay. Hi, Maria. Yeah. And this Catherine Carroll, the thief who stole somebody's account. I don't know about that. So we like to go around at the beginning of each episode and say what's up in our lives and in our writing careers. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to start with you, Jamie.
Hi.
What's up with you?
Okay, I have, for your listening pleasure, once again, one of the best Stoic quotes. This quote is from Seneca, who lived from 4 BC to AD 65. He was a prominent Stoic philosopher in Rome. He had a unique position as the advisor to the newly appointed Emperor Nero in 54. And the quote that he had is, "It is more civilized to make fun of life than to bewail it." And I'm not necessarily interested in being civilized, but I believe that this is good advice, because to laugh at how life just keeps on, the hits just keep on coming, seems to be a recipe for sort of in general, more happy life. And the Bible, what I typically do is I compare what the Stoics said to what the Bible says. And if you read in Proverbs 15:15, it says, "All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful of heart has a continual feast." So you can always try to change your mind about your circumstances. And again, the Bible says there is a time to mourn. There is a time for every feeling. I don't think it's necessarily healthy or wise to suppress sadness or to not really feel your feelings. But if you can find a way to be cheerful, or to kind of, you will have a continuous feast if you can somehow find your way out. And I personally don't think it's anybody's job to try to dig anybody else out. But I think that if you can try to dig deep and make your heart cheerful, you just in general will enjoy life a little more. And who doesn't want to enjoy their life a little more?
Mm-hmm. And so at the very least, you can be thankful. No. Okay. Were you done?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll go next. And I have to say, my granddaughter was here last night because there's an electrical issue at her house that was affecting the boiler, the furnace. So they didn't have any heat. So she came, spent the night here, and it has been a minute since I had to get up, get a child out of bed when they don't want to get up, get them dressed, get them breakfast, and get them off to school.
Mhm.
And that's what I had to do this morning. And it was that child was playing us like a fiddle, I have to tell you. Because number one, my husband's a little bit of he's a little protective. And he kept saying, well, what if she can't find her class? Because normally she rides the bus with her sister. And so I got up this morning and I said, the first thing I said was, do you usually eat breakfast at home or at school? She goes, oh, at home. So she didn't like any of the cereal I had, and she doesn't like oatmeal. So I said, do you want some toast with peanut butter? And she said, yeah, but don't toast it and roll it up. So she had a piece of bread rolled up with peanut butter on it. And then we get to
I'm
school
thinking that sounds
and
delicious.
Me too.
yeah, I've had peanut butter on bread, but I've never rolled it before. So that was a new for me. So we get to school and it was Christmas pajama day. Like she got to wear her Christmas pajamas to school. So that was fun. And then and I let her choose how she wanted her hair. She wanted pigtails. So we put pigtails. We get to the door and she, of course, remembering what her grandpa said the night before, says to me, I don't know where my classroom is. And of course, there's a sign on the door that says students only beyond this point. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can't take you to your classroom, but I don't know where to go. So I told the security guard guy, I'm like, my granddaughter says she doesn't know where her classroom is. I am her grandma. This is my first. He goes, go ahead and take her. That child knew exactly where her classroom was. She
Yes.
knew exactly where to go to get her breakfast that she eats at school every day. On the little cart in the hallway, there's milk, and then there's a little bag with an apple and cereal, and I don't know what else in it. And she knew exactly where her locker was with her name on it. It's just like, okay, you're here, you know where you are, I'm gone. So, but it was fun. It was an experience, but it's been like over a decade since I've had to do that. So that's what's on my mind today.
That's awesome.
What
I
about you,
wonder if
Jen?
other states and other places in the world, like if the schools offer breakfast, because I know it's a Michigan thing that most schools do that. And we always had breakfast at home for our kids, but when they were public school, they still wanted to eat at school. There's something fun
Yeah.
about, I guess, eating with your friends, right? That makes it
Yeah.
more fun.
Well, she took hers in the classroom, so I don't
Mm.
know.
Well, you know, that's so funny because when I was still teaching, I got reprimanded by my principal because I worked in an at-risk school, and back then they had free breakfast for kids. You could pay for breakfast, but then if you were like a certain like economic standard, you got breakfast for free. Well, some of these kids would come in late. I mean, they're teenagers. You don't know what's going on at home, and so they wouldn't get breakfast because they wanted to be in class. And I always told them, get your breakfast, bring it to class. I'll let you eat it in class because I know that these kids need to eat. Some of these kids, then they would only have lunch all day long. That might be the only food that they would get, you know. So I'm like, go get your breakfast. I got
Yeah.
reprimanded for letting them eat in the classroom because like that wasn't professional. And now it's like a
Well,
standard.
how are they supposed to learn with empty bellies?
That's exactly what I thought too. And you know
Yeah.
what? They're not gonna learn anything from me if I don't show them compassion. But
Right.
anyway, well, what's up with me sick? We've been sick, this whole household. I don't even, that's it. Like we've just been sick. Like I was sick last week. I've been like sick forever. I feel like I had
Yeah,
a super
welcome
bad
back. It's good to have you back.
thanks. I had a really bad headache that first week, and then the week after I was like not feeling good. I'm like, well, it's just the sniffles, whatever. And then woke up Friday morning miserable. Like I couldn't stop coughing. And so yeah. So then when we had our meeting Tuesday, I felt miserable at the meeting, but I'm like, there's no way I'll still be sick on Friday. I'm still sick, but I'm better
Yeah.
and I'm here. And I hope you guys, I'm going to be muting a lot to cough, and I hope that's okay with everybody. But the whole house had it. It's finally made its way to my husband. So yeah, everyone here is sick. So but it's going around. Like everyone I'm talked to is like sick. So it's something that went around through the schools or churches or both or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, don't
Maria says
cough
in
in
the
the
UK,
microphone.
it Yeah, no, I'll be muting for
Because
sure. I'll probably
my
get muted
my
a lot today.
granddaughter's coming over, and I can't get her sick. So.
Oh. Maria says in the UK it depends on the school. Some schools offer an early breakfast club. Oh, thanks,
Oh,
Piper, for the
Breakfast
50 cents.
Club. I want to be in the
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Right. Let's see. Who would you be in the Breakfast Club and who would I be? Just kidding. For the you had to be our age and watch that movie. All right.
Well,
Maria says her what's sorry.
go ahead.
Maria says her what's up after 2 years of managing to avoid it. COVID finally caught us. Thankfully, symptoms have been mild and we're pretty much back to normal now. Oh, that's good news. Yeah, we
Yeah.
wondered. We went and got tested for everything. First, my girls went and got tested at their pediatrician for like strep because that's we've had bad sore throats. No strep, no bronchitis, no flu, no COVID. But the doctor was like, "It's viral. Whatever it is you have, it's viral. You need to stay home." So that's what we've been doing. Go ahead, Tina.
Awesome. Oh, I don't even remember what I was going to say now. I was just making a joke about not getting us sick.
Piper says she's glad you're back, Jen.
Yeah. Okay, so our topic for today is the Christmas story and finding inspiration from the Christmas story. And I am trying to get my outline up here on my phone because my computer just doesn't want to work. So
Well,
we're going to discuss the Christmas story and the elements of the story and how that can apply to any story and how we can use it for inspiration, right?
Right, because we figured if it's the greatest story ever told, obviously we wonder like if there was a story structure to the way that it's put together, as far as the way it was told to us or the way that it unfolded. Because what if like God is the ultimate planner? Huh? What if? What if he is the
What if he has
ultimate like
a
plotter?
trifold science board up in heaven behind his throne, and he's got sticky notes all over it?
Now that's how I'm gonna imagine him from now on. My life's a trifold with a bunch of sticky notes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, it was funny. It's too bad sometimes that the audience doesn't get to be a fly on the wall for like our planning meetings and the postcast. We've always talked about that and the precast. But when we started to talk about it, the most hilarious bit was like, okay, well, I guess we should start from the beginning. And we're like, okay, so where does the Christmas story start? And then it was like, we can't agree. Or it's not that we couldn't really agree, but it's like it was debatable, right? Because one of us said when the angel came to Mary and told her she was going to have a child, but I think someone's original idea was even farther ahead than that. It's like no, but it starts here. And then I was like, well, actually, in the garden. And
Yeah.
so
It's true.
So we were originally starting to talk about let's begin at the beginning, right?
Right.
So we couldn't agree on where the story started, but if we were going to plot this out as like a movie, we would say, I would say probably the angel appearing would be probably coming there pretty close, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like if we're like, we only have 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you can't really tell the rest of the story without everybody knowing that this child was not because she committed adultery. It was not because of anything she did wrong. It was because God chose her to have his son. And there was this angel. So like that to me is the hook.
Yeah. So I guess because it's like, well, once upon a time, there was a girl just going about her little Hebrew life, just like every other day, right? She was betrothed to be married and her life was just kind of going along. And then suddenly an angel appears.
An angel. Yeah. Yeah.
Which now, so have you guys looked at the actual verbiage of that? Because it just makes me wonder. So human looking angel, glowing. I mean, like, what did she actually see? Do you ever wonder? Because I do.
Well, he said don't be afraid. So
yeah, I was just going to say that every time an angel appears in the Bible, the first thing they say is don't be afraid. And so I feel like there's something fearsome about them. But I don't know that they're really described.
So first lesson to learn, I would say, is like you have to have a hook. For us, the hook is An angel appears to a virgin and you're gonna have a baby. What? Like, think about
Mhm.
that. Like, you're reading a book and, like, you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep with this book, and then all of a sudden, she's a virgin and, like, she's pregnant. Wait, what? She's pregnant?
Mhm. And
Then
his
you're like,
name's gonna
"Okay, now
be
I gotta read more," right?
and his
So
Yeah.
name's gonna be Emmanuel, which means God with us.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so the point though of like the hook is to make people like, okay, I'm gonna give this book a chance. All right, now you've got me hooked, right? If
Right.
Mhm.
if she hadn't been a virgin who God hadn't sent an angel to talk to, no one would care about this story, right? If it was
Mhm.
just somebody who was married and already had kids and all of a sudden said, an angel came to me and told me I was gonna have God's baby, who would believe that?
Right.
Because they're like,
Right.
okay, you have a husband. How do we know it's not his? There would have been all these, but God knew like how his story had to unfold for the world to not only pay attention,
Mhm.
like, and then start to hear the rest of the story. Because then to see like people that knew Mary and her integrity, knew Joseph and their integrity, when they found this out, now they're watching, right? So the story then starts to unfold. So
Right.
Piper says, "Well, I mean, even if they are human looking, they come out of nowhere. And Mary is by herself and suddenly sees a stranger. Of course, she'd be so scared." That's true too. That's very true
Yeah.
too.
And
So,
if she's a young girl and there were men, they were looked like men, that would be frightening.
Right.
Um, and so then we were discussing what is the first disaster? If the angel is not a disaster, if that's the hook, what's the first disaster?
Well, I think Joseph, like, being like,
mhm,
"What do you mean you're having a baby?" Right?
Yeah.
Because
mhm,
dun dun dun, things could really turn south here.
right,
Yeah, and in that day and age, she could be stoned.
right.
He could choose to have her stoned for adultery.
When I was this morning, like doing my devotions, laying in bed because I'm lazy. Um, I was thinking about this. We did not discuss this in our meeting, but like they're like the romance part of this story, if you're a romance writer. Like as a child growing up, I grew up with an attitude towards Joseph. I will be honest. I was like, what do you mean he was going to divorce her just because like doesn't trust her, blah, 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 just like he must not love her if he's just going to throw her aside. But I've learned over the years what it meant for him to divorce her quietly. Like, he loved her enough that he didn't want her to die. He didn't want her to be stoned. He didn't want her even to be embarrassed, right? He was going to divorce her quietly, which would allow her to escape this and, could possibly live a quiet life somewhere else where no one knew her story.
Right.
And, like, think of, like, the sacrifice that would do to him to, like, divorce her quietly would mean that, like, all of a sudden he's without a wife and no one knows why, and he has to live with that in the society the rest of his life, and he was
Yeah.
gonna shoulder that, and I think, like, wow, like, so like, how like, if you could that's a whole romance right there. So,
Mhm. And he
that's a
was
side note, sorry.
genuinely a kind person
Mhm,
because because if he wasn't a kind person, he would have just had her stoned
mhm,
and called it a day and went and found another wife.
mhm,
Okay. So then what do we have next? We have the first disaster, then I guess would be the midpoint or the second disaster.
yep. I
What do you
would
guys think?
say that one would be, you have to go to Bethlehem for a census.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, out to here pregnant.
yeah, right? On a donkey or how we always say a donkey, we don't know, they could have walked the whole way, we don't really know,
Right.
but I like the image of her on the donkey's back and him walking, I think.
Yeah.
But still, if you've ever ridden a horse, I know donkeys are a little bit slower, but still, if you've ever
Donkeys
ridden
are
a
worse
horse,
than horses because they're
uh,
like a lot more bouncy and
yeah. So imagine
stubborn.
I used to get mad at my
Yeah.
husband when he would go over a pothole when I was pregnant in our car. Like, I can't
Yeah.
even imagine having to ride all the way to Bethlehem on the back of a horse or a donkey. So, yeah.
Yeah. And there's this whole thing about the second act where you have a whole bunch of little disaster kind of like some things are good, some things are bad. You kind of have the up and down of the second act. Like we
Yeah.
get none of that in this story in the Bible. Like we get like they went from here and they got to Bethlehem. But can you imagine? Like I don't know about anyone else, but I got really cranky at the end of my pregnancies.
Yeah, we didn't get the story of the donkey getting a flat tire. And
Or like just like the crankiness and the irritate like she had to be human. I know like she was Mary and she was highly favored and all that. But she was also human. And so it
Right.
would be fun to sit down and speculate about the little things that just
and then
happened on that
Joseph wouldn't
journey.
stop to look at the world's largest ball of twine.
And they took a wrong turn. He wouldn't ask for
I
directions.
was just gonna say
And then,
that.
bathroom breaks would be a whole different
Oh,
ordeal.
yeah.
But then
Piper
I
says,
don't.
or her pickle cravings. And Shell says, we all know about how road trips go. LOL.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, my daughter was just pregnant and she was just coming over here all the time and, you know, just like, Mom, I didn't know it was going to be that hard. And I was like, yeah, if you knew, you wouldn't have gotten pregnant.
Right?
But, and, I just think about like how uncomfortable she was and stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure there was like a lot of mini stories to fill up that second act
And
they just leave it out.
do either of you know, have either of you ever researched? Because I just always imagine them, I don't know, not necessarily destitute poor, but not exactly like super wealthy people. I don't know the answer. And so you wonder, provisioning for such a trip. Um, it's my understanding that a lot of people would put up booths. And so since they didn't have a booth, like I'm imagining they weren't like a wealthier sort of couple. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so even
Yeah.
provisioning for such a long journey would have been a hardship.
Right.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
I know
know.
that in the culture, Joseph would have had to have established himself and had been able to provide before he could have married her. So they wouldn't have been like destitute, I don't think the way that, but again, like you said, like were they ready to travel financially? We don't know that. And like the fact that like it was so close to her time, like was it because they were putting it off and hoping they wouldn't actually have to do it? Or was it just so like all of a sudden you gotta go right now. You know what I mean? So there's lots of questions we don't have, but ultimately, like them having to go was for sure a disaster in the story. What I call
Yeah,
disasters, it does for sure just pinpoint.
agree.
Now the final midpoint, which would come at 75%, I think I know what it is. I have an opinion. But what do you guys think the final plot point is?
I think no room in the inn.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Like, you didn't make reservations, Joseph? Like, what's up with that? You just expect to show up at Bally's and there be a room? Like, I don't.
I don't want to give away too much about what I wrote, but like if you think about it, like I always, whenever you see movies or you think about it, you think that like it's dark, it's nighttime, and they're the only people going around knocking on doors. But if like this was like something that all of a sudden everybody had to go for the census, like there could be people like sleeping in the streets and all over the place, and he was just desperate because she was like in labor, right? Like they would have
Yeah.
possibly just slept in the streets like everyone else, but no, she's about to give birth. We have to, get inside somewhere, so
And plus, I don't wanna give it away, but God had this all planned from the beginning.
no spoilers here, Tina.
So, there was a reason. There's a reason there was no room in the inn, I just have to say.
That's awesome.
It was part of the plan.
Part of the plan. So
And so
then the
that takes us
resolution. Sorry, go ahead.
right. Well, I want this is where I want you to share screen because a lot of
Okay.
people think that the resolution would be the baby being born. But there's a part of the Christmas story that I don't hear taught very often. I've actually heard your pastor, Jennifer, teach this in the
Mhm.
Bible study. And we all know, like at Christmas, at Easter time, that Jesus is our Passover lamb, and that Passover was pointing forward to Jesus, and that he became our sacrifice, and everyone understands that. But what not everybody knows is that those lambs that they sacrificed on Passover were all born in Bethlehem.
Mhm.
And there's a tower called the Migdal Edron. Okay, it's Migdal something tower, and it's in Bethlehem, and it's a watchtower. And the shepherds would be stay on the top, and so they could look over. Like there would be shepherds in the fields, and shepherds in the tower because any male lamb born in those fields was considered holy.
Mhm.
and they would not let their ewes give birth out in the fields. They would bring them into the stable, which was below the tower, and they would give birth. And if it was a male lamb, they would wrap it in swaddling clothes
If it
and
was
lay it.
perfect, they
Well,
would go
first
they would
they would wrap it first, and any male, and put them in the manger, and then they would be wait there where they couldn't like fall or get um, marred, to be inspected by the shepherds.
Mhm.
And then if they were perfect, then they would be put with where they would go to become a Passover lamb. So all the males got swaddled and put in the manger, but then they had to be inspected. And that's important
Right, b
because those are the first people. Jesus was born in that stable. And that's why I wanted you to share this, because Micah 4:8 is a messianic prophecy. And you can see all these different translations, and a lot of them say watchtower of the flock. It says, "As for you, watchtower of the flock, stronghold of the daughter Zion, the former dominion will be restored to you. Kingship will come to daughter Israel." So this is a prophecy of the Messiah saying that he's going to be born here. But if you hit the interlinear for me, this is the Strong's Greek Concordance, and these are the original words written in the original translation of the Bible. And you will see that they don't just say tower, they actually say Migdal. And I can't, it's too small for me to see, but if maybe
I'm
you
trying to
can.
make it bigger, but it's not.
So it says right here, um, it come to you, O Zion, the daughter, the stronghold of the flock, the Eder tower, and that word is Migdal. So this exact
Right
tower,
here.
right?
I
This
think it'll
exact
mouse it.
tower was prophesied hundreds of years earlier, that the Messiah would be born there.
So when
And
the angels were told, "You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling cloths and
or the
lying in the
shepherds, yeah.
manger," the shepherds, sorry, they knew
Yeah.
exactly where to go.
Because if I say to you in our culture where we live, to you, Jen, the
Mhm,
Lions beat the Bears this week, you
mhm.
don't think that there was like a melee at the zoo.
Right.
You know that I'm talking about football.
Yeah, if you say, "I'm going to the Lions game," I know exactly where you're going. Yes.
Right. And so
Yep.
anybody in the 1st century in this area would have known that being wrapped in swaddling clothes and laying in a manger, there's only one place that happened. And that was in the stable at Migdal Tower, where the lambs were born that were destined to become sacrifices for the Passover.
This leads in so well to my what I wrote today. I'm so excited.
And so to me, that's the aha, that's the wow, that's the climax, the
Mhm.
underlying theme of the whole thing.
Absolutely agree. And then the resolution is everyone comes and worships him.
Right. And
Yep.
Mary pondered these things in her heart. It's like that.
Yes.
What do you call that? That word I can't pronounce in French. That's like the falling at the very end on the graph. Do you know what I'm talking about? Denouement or something like that?
Denouement?
I don't know.
Denome? Denome? I don't.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to say piece de la resistance,
I know
but
I was
first
trying
of
to
all,
all these French words. I'm like, crème de la
souffle?
crème. Yeah, soufflé. Soufflé. We're so cultured.
Anyway, it's just like the most awesome. It's okay. So like the whole nativity thing is really cool, but when you know that, like to me, it makes me cry. It makes
Me
me want
too.
to cry.
If I can
It's
find
just.
he's preached on this a couple times. If I can find the link to the sermon, I'll put it in the show notes later.
I
It'll
heard
take
it
me a
in a
little bit.
Bible study, so I don't know if it's like I
No,
haven't
he's
heard it.
he's preached on it during and he may even do it this season too. So
Okay,
because
when
it's
I
so
heard him
good.
say it, it was in a Bible study,
Mhm,
so it might, and it might have been online too. But yeah, just incredible. The incredible detail in God's plot, um, on his storyboard and the little sticky notes that he's put into this story. It's just, yeah. Wow.
All right. So lessons learned from the greatest story ever told is the hook is important. Having the different plot points are important because even the Lord did it when he told his
Mhm.
Right.
story.
And the underlying theme of the whole thing is what makes it powerful
Mm.
and makes it a story.
And there's a greater
Otherwise,
purpose to the
it's
story.
just a story of some kid getting born
Right.
during a census.
Agreed.
Yeah,
All right.
awesome. Okay, so now it's time for our favorite part, and
Yay.
that is the feeding of the backs. And we call it that because Jamie used to say when we were getting feedback on our stuff, "Is your back well fed?" Meaning, did we get enough? And so now we like to call it that. And we only get positive feedback because we get a prompt and we have 15 minutes to write, no time to plan, and no time to edit. So we only say positive things. So who wants to go first? Should I do any, meeny, miny, mo,
I'll go
or
first.
okay?
Since
You
it's
can
funny
tell
that
us
you
the prompt.
oh, the prompt is no room at the inn. And the fact that you brought up, like, so I would been thinking on actually that information that I'd learned years ago from Pastor Gary and just other things that he shared. The sermon I'm going to try to find, there might be a series of them where he really dove deep into the culture and things that, like, when the people of that time would have read or would have been told this story, they wouldn't have had to explain, so it wasn't written in there, but, like, we don't understand, like, that whole thing, "You'll find the babe lying in a manger." Oh, well, we know right where to go. Like, he's in
Hmm.
Bethlehem in a manger, we know where to go.
And
But
wrapped
we
in swaddling clothes.
and
Yeah.
wrapped in swaddling cloths. Yeah, exactly, where it was, like, obvious to them, so I'll try to find it. But anyway, so that was in my head, but okay. Do you think people were sleeping in the streets? Janie, put that down, Denise said, taking the shepherd figurine away from her daughter and placing it back to the nativity scene. Those are expensive. Is that why you only had baby Jesus and his parents? Denise smiled, thinking on her meager collection of Fontanini pieces her mother had bought her years ago. Well, aren't they the most important pieces? Janie shrugged. I think the barn is the most important piece. The barn? Denise laughed. Why is that? Because there was no room in the inn, Mom. It was said in that "duh, mom" kind of way that only an 8-year-old who thinks she's a teenager can say. "I see," Denise said, slowly moving her cart down along the display of nativities. But Janie didn't move. "I know it didn't look like this one. Mrs. Bugby says that it was more likely carved out of rock or stones or something. But I think it would have been like this one. Not clean and comfortable like a hotel, but sturdy and safe." She stared so lovingly at the scene that Denise wondered if she was imagining herself there amongst the first greeters of the newborn savior. Yes, I imagined it was sturdy. Yeah, Janie nodded thoughtfully. Joseph thought he needed to find a place in the inn for Mary to have her baby. Can you imagine how upset he was? There was, like, probably people everywhere because it probably wasn't just Mary and Joseph that got turned away. Mrs. Bugby said lots of people had to go Bethlehem to be counted. That's true for the census. So I bet the inn was super crowded. It probably was. But the barn wasn't. With those words, Janie's face lit up and she looked at her mother expectantly. Well, I don't suppose it was. So Mary got to give birth to her baby, not in a crowded inn full of loud, sweaty travelers, all strangers to her, but in peace among the animals. I guess it was just God's way of giving us what we need, not what we want. Denise placed her hand on her daughter's head and thanked God that he had given her what she needed, not what she wanted. 3, 2, 1. I ran out of time. There was more I wanted to do, but
Nice.
Oh, I love it. I love that you took this prompt and had them shopping for crush and characters. That's really great. Well, and they were probably just like window shopping. Sounds like they can't afford to buy whatever.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I literally have a Fontanini a set that's just baby Jesus and the parents, one donkey, and like one angel that my mom had bought me. It's served me pieces, but they are expensive. And like life gets like whenever it's time to like, you know, maybe buy nativity pieces, I'm buying for other people. I just don't think about, myself and like that. So it's good as long as I have baby Jesus, I'm good. That's my mantra for my life. As long as I have baby Jesus, I'm good.
Piper
I
says
love
that
it.
she knows what that 8-year-old who thinks she's a teen voice sounds like.
Oh, yeah. We all have that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my
Yeah,
mouse
I have a
working.
5-year-old. who thinks she's a teen voice.
Teresa thinks your story was precious. And
Oh,
Shell
thanks.
says, so great, Jen. Really sweet end.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was good, and I like the whole child who gives out the like, oh, what am I trying to say?
From the
Those
mouths of babes.
Yeah.
incredible profound truths of God that are actually so simple, and then the child says it. Yeah.
In my mind, it's a short story, but the short story has to start before here because in my mind, the little girl has Down syndrome or something.
Oh,
and it's a
nice.
mom. I'm guessing they're stressed or they go up to Bronner's. For those of you who don't know, Bronner's is like this Christmas, gigantic Christmas store. It's open year round, but it's like at Christmas time, it's chaos. But
They
like
were in Bronner's in my head.
yeah, good. I didn't mention that would all happen earlier, right? In the story,
Yeah.
if I was going to write this, I would kind of build up to what's going on in this woman's life and the stress and like how
Mhm.
like she has like maybe not forgotten the truth, like what she's supposed to be focusing on, but just like, inside, like being like what everyone else needs her to be, but inside she's not really feeling it. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. But in my mind, her little girl somehow fits into like how this isn't what she planned, but she's doing it, right? Like, so I don't
I
know.
wondered what that line meant.
Yeah,
Oh, but since we could only give positive feedback, I didn't want to ask.
right. Or it could be like she's raising a granddaughter. She thought she'd be in her like empty nester stage, and
Yeah.
she's, there's lots of ways I could, but that's in my mind. The mother or grandmother's face or head is like somewhere else, and the little girl is right where it should be, is focused on Jesus. So.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate all that feedback. And Teresa likes my mantra. You can use it too, Teresa.
Okay, let me get my story up and I'll go next. I have to do it on my phone because um if I open anything on my computer, things happen and I get like glitchy and then I talk over people. It's a problem. Okay, so here is my story. Floating, warmth, comfort, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. The rhythm of his mother's heartbeat soothed him. The soft gushing of her blood flowing and the muffled sounds of voices mingled with others made his world seem almost perfect. Yet, something was happening, a change. He could feel it, a quickening pressure. The warmth he floated in seemed less suddenly, and the pressure increased. He kicked his legs, tried to fight against it, but it was relentless. Just when he thought he couldn't bear it another second, it released him. Cold air gushed at him, enveloping his body. There was light and faces and voices. He searched for the familiar voice of his mother, bleeding
Mhm.
out his displeasure at having to be here, separated from her. Those who held him wrapped him, his feet held firmly in place. There was a kind of warmth and comfort in the cloths, but nothing like his familiar world. He pleaded for his mother, complaining against the strange sensations assaulting his body and the empty gnawing in his stomach. He heard his mamma's voice, and it calmed him some. Then another sound pierced the cold night air. He looked up from the strange bed they'd placed him in at the source of the sound. Somebody else had just come into the world like him, only this one had no warm wool to protect him from the cold, and his bleeding was strange. They wrapped the other's bare body in cloths too, and laid him in his own bed filled with straw. His mother had water leaking from her eyes. Then the shepherds came, kneeling before the other. A bright light seemed to fill the room. One of the shepherds cried out, saying, "Behold, the Lamb of God."
I love it.
Thanks.
Yay.
I didn't understand that it wasn't a human baby being born. Like it wasn't the perspective of a human baby at first. So well done, Tina. I love it.
Yeah, I thought that I was like, oh, she's calling baby Jesus Christ bleeding. That's tricky and fun. But it's like, oh no, that's not what she,
Right.
wow.
That's
It was a
exactly what
really nice, yeah, it was
that's
I did
nice.
that
exactly
on
what I thought.
purpose.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Piper noticed too. She said she loved the twist.
yeah,
What were you
agreed.
saying, Jen? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say like everything you said was exactly the way I experienced it too. Like, oh, bleeding, that's a good choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like creative choice. And then like to realize, and then because even the sheep. Like that. Even the sheep called the babies crying bleeding too. So like it just was really good. So Catherine says she loved that. And Shell says, great, Tina. Awesome twist. Yeah. So
Thanks,
well done.
guys.
Love it.
Yeah, great. I got to follow that. This
Mm-hmm.
was not a wonderful
Sorry.
sprint week for me.
Aw.
But yours was so good, Tina. I love it.
Oh, thanks. Well, yours
Mhm.
is always really good. So
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'm very fascinated that I was the only person to take this perspective, and I guess it's because I work in customer service, and so maybe that's front of mind for me.
But it's
So
fun. We all three did something different with it, like
yes, it
totally
makes me
different.
so happy because
Me
I was
too.
like, well, it's all going to be the same story. Nope.
Nope.
All right. So do you want me to go and do mine?
yeah.
No, we'll wait till next week. Of course, we want you to go.
All right. You don't even have a room with double beds? I only reserved a king bed because it's just me. No, ma'am, we're fully booked for the evening. No rooms available at all. I'm sorry, but there isn't anything I can do. Oh. The woman bit her lip and I held my breath, anticipating a tirade. She was the fifth customer of the night I'd had to turn away, and each of the other four had been none too pleased and absolutely not shy about telling me so. Well, she said, then gave a big sigh. If there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can do. She gave me a crooked grin. I bet your job has been kind of a nightmare tonight, huh? Relieved, I laughed just a little too hard. Yeah, it's always like this when travel comes through. Every year we book up, sell out. It's unfortunate that they show up the same time as many of our locals have family reunions. We get so many parties. I waved a hand, certain I'm boring this woman with my hospitality woes. What a challenge, she says, her eyes filled with sympathetic understanding. You probably really feel unappreciated on days like this. Do you want me to go pick you up a breakfast sandwich or a coffee or something? I was so taken aback by the offer that I am not sure what my face did, but it must have telegraphed something unintended because she quickly backpedaled. Never mind, I'm sure you can get anything you need from the kitchen. Well, I'm off to try to find somewhere to spend the night. You got any local insider hints for me? Somewhere I can book in that others might not know about? I lifted a shoulder. I mean, you could try the campsite down on Route 6. People tend to avoid it this time of year because it's cold, but they have some rustic cabins. One might be available. She reached across the desk and patted my hand. Thank you so much, sweet girl. She grinned that funny crooked grin again. I guess I can stop at the store and get me some s'mores makings. Make the best of a bad situation and all that. She turned, and the automatic doors opened, seeming to suck her and her positivity out with them, and then immediately vomiting a tall man in a camel-colored trench coat. His scarf billowed as he walked. His fine leather gloves caught the light and glistened. I need a room, he said, and it needs to have a kitchenette. As he spoke, the gloves came off, and a credit card was snapped down onto the desk. Oh boy, I thought. Here we go.
Wow.
The end.
Why
I
don't
love
you
that.
like that one?
I don't know.
I love that language of the doors vomiting out the man, like sucking out the positivity and
Mhm.
vomiting out this man in the trench coat and gloves. Like I
Yeah.
loved that part. That's my favorite part.
Yeah,
Thanks.
without telling us anything about this guy, we don't like him. You know what I mean? Like, without telling us anything. It was great. Yeah. I love
I
that. I love
appreciate
this,
it.
like, this little ray of sunshine that just showed up for this person, and, like, yeah, I love that whole thing.
Thanks.
Piper
Yeah,
says, "That was fantastic, Jamie."
I appreciate that.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Oh, gotta love Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it's time for what's next. So I started with you, Jamie, with what's up. So let's start with Jen for what's next. What's up? What's next for you, Jen?
Well, hopefully getting better.
Yeah, gosh.
Thank God for online shopping, because I'm not feeling the stress of being behind. And my oldest stepson and his wife are coming home for Christmas this year. They've not been
Oh,
home for 5 years. So this is like a very exciting thing. We're very happy about that. So just kind of getting the house ready and gonna take my dad shopping and spend some time with him. And yeah, and then you guys know how it is. I do all the cooking, so I got all that to do as well. So just kind of getting into the full swing of it. We decorated cookies last night. The girls and I did. Well, Chloe didn't. Chloe's still really sick. but the rest of us did. So yeah, just kind of
For
just doing the
Chloe.
Christmas thing and doing all the family stuff that we do. So my what's
Nice.
next is really just not even thinking about writing for the next 2 weeks. I'm just going to be with family and do family stuff. How about you, Tina? What's your what's next?
Well, Amber's coming over again today with the baby. We're going to attempt to make Christmas cookies.
Fun.
Sometimes Eliana has other plans, and what
Mhm.
Eliana wants, Eliana gets. And then because she's like going to be 2 months old, so. And then Athena's coming back over after school and spending a whole week with us until Christmas Eve. So that's going to be fun. We might
Aw.
go to Frankenmuth and see Christmas lights and attempt to go to Bronner's. We don't know. We're still talking about that. And it's going to
She's
be
off
fun.
next week, right? Or she has
Yeah,
school
she has
next
no
week?
school. She has no school for 2 weeks. So we have this thing that we're doing. I don't know if you can see it, but I have like the how many sleeps till Christmas we have up there on
Mhm.
the mantle. And then
Oh,
I
uh-huh.
have like the little barn. The only ones in the barn at the moment are the angel and the shepherd. And the if you look up on the shelf behind the tree, you can see the wise men off in the east.
That's awesome.
And Mary and Joseph and the donkey started at the far end of the house in the kitchen. And every day we move them a little closer to Bethlehem. And so Athena has been having great fun moving Mary, Joseph, and the donkey, but only been able to do it on the weekend. So now, like the whole lead up to Christmas Eve, she's going to be able to move them. And then I have baby Jesus hiding, and I'm going to put him in
That's
probably
fun.
on Christmas Eve before we take her home so she can be part of it. But
That is a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to the holidays and Christmas and all that. We have like a family thing tomorrow at Bob's mom's. So just a lot of Christmassy stuff.
My baby Jesus is not attached to the manger, so I often thought I should just put baby Jesus away and bring him out on Christmas. But I was A, worried I'd lose him, and B, worried I'd forget. So he just but I love that you're doing
You
that.
can't forget the baby Jesus.
Oh, poor Teresa says she hasn't even started Christmas shopping yet with a tearful emoji. Poor thing. You can
Oh
do it,
no.
Teresa. Piper says what's next for her? She's finishing her Christmas chocolate chip cookies. Oh no, why did you say that? Oh no, yummy. I will have to make some. And then she got her Christmas present from hubby Atticus.
Yay.
Yay! And then Teresa says her what's next. She only needs about 5,000 to hit her December word count goal. She's been working very steady, crushing that goal. Good for her. And then once she hits that, she's taking the rest of the month off from writing. Good for you. Shell
Nice.
says that's such a fun tradition, Tina. Totally agree.
Well, we just started it this year, but hopefully we'll continue it.
Catherine Carroll says she loves how you've got the story playing out over time. I love that too. And involving your granddaughter is a way to make it really meaningful, I think.
Yeah.
And then Teresa says, for anyone with little kids, I recommend The Donkey in the Living Room. All right. Well, that
Check
sounds
that out.
good.
We like a good book around here.
Yeah. Well, my what's next, which first of all, I forgot I had a good what's up. So I'm going to share it since we're running a little ahead. And when we were in our daily writing time, which by the way, from 10 a.m. to noon, I have the NaNoWriMo Sprint Room open for everyone to come and write Monday through Thursday, as long as I don't have a lunch shift at work. So come and join us, join our Facebook group, and then look for that room to help you be productive. Anyway, we were talking about microwaved caramels. Have you guys ever done that?
No, but it sounds wonderful.
Like making them or just microwaving caramels?
Yes,
Make
you
them. Oh,
just
okay.
so you just put ingredients in a microwave safe bowl and microwave it, and then you have to like do a little bit of stirring and stuff like that. Oh my goodness, they came. Trace Thomas was talking about it, and so I had to flee to the store, and I made some. Sprinkle a little salt on top. They're so good and so easy, and you don't have to worry about like a candy thermometer or burning it or any of that stuff.
Awesome.
You'll have to put that recipe in the Facebook group.
I will. I will share the recipe that I used. The one that I used uses dark dark syrup because I couldn't find the light corn syrup at the store. And I was like, is there a recipe that uses the dark corn syrup? And so, yes, I did find one. Oh, that came out so good. Okay. And then my what's next. I finished the editing project I was doing for a friend. And now I am moving on to going through my novel, which is so interesting, talking about God's timing, God's plan. When I put my novel on the virtual back burner, I was ready to publish that thing. Like that was going to be the final incarnation. But since I've been like running around living my life and thinking, oh, I've got sort of a plot inconsistency there. And I've got information that's in my head, but not in the reader's head that I need to work into this plot. And so it's been interesting because what I've started to do is go through it one chapter at a time and just make sure. And so that is what I am doing in my productivity sprints right now. Also, I am spending at least one of those sprints actually writing so that because I feel like nothing has done more for my writing than those when I was writing every single day. I feel like I just improved so much as a writer that I think it's important for me to actually write. And so that is what I will be doing in this next week. And we won't have an episode next week, right?
Right, because it'll be Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone will be busy with all kinds of Christmas family stuff.
Right. We normally take 2 weeks off at this time of year, but have you ladies decided that I'm not coming back the second week, but have you ladies decided that you are going to have an episode after that before New Year's?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
We just have to figure out what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. If you have any suggestions, send them our way.
Yeah. All right. Well, do we have any what's next in the
one more
chat?
popped up. Catherine says still getting over being sick after 20 books and trying to get momentum back with her work in progress. Let's see. And then there's more things happening. Teresa says, just wait to wash your bowl.
Oh my goodness. Yes. She said that she made the microwaved caramels. And then after she's like, if I wait to wash this bowl, I'm going to have just rock solid caramel stuck to a bowl. So I'm going to be a good girl and I'm going to wash this bowl right now. But she took the hot from the microwave bowl and put it in the sink and ran water. And guess what happened?
It broke the bowl.
It shattered.
Yeah. Well, it only cracked, fortunately. So it's still a usable bowl from like visual, but she just can't put any like liquid in it. So she's thinking she might like put nuts inside of it or something decorative, but it just,
bummer.
Yeah. She's like, that's what I get for being responsible.
Just lick it. Just lick it clean. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around Teresa's little joke here. Christmas Adam, because Adam came before Eve.
Yeah, not Christmas Eve. Christmas
the
Adam
day before
is
Christmas
the day before
Eve
Christmas Eve.
Adam.
Oh, that's funny.
That is very funny.
Very cheesy. I love it.
I love it too.
Okay. Well, if that's all, if no one else has anything to say, then this wraps up this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast.
Wraps up. Thanks we're so glad that you brought your presents here with us. It was claws to never mind, I'm giving up.
Oh, please. This is hilarious.
This has been so much fun.
Oh, and yeah, and before you go, we have to say your shirt, Jen.
Oh. Yeah.
We did not even give any love to the 6 faces of
I almost forgot to wear
Buddy the Elf.
I almost forgot to wear a Christmas because, I always have to have some sort of obnoxious shirt for this episode.
And Susan showed up in her Christmas finery as well.
Aw. Post a picture in the Facebook group. Oh, Susan. I thought there was someone in the chat.
I was like, she has no idea what you're talking about, Jamie.
It was all ready for the holiday. I got ready this morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, I always have a crazy Christmas bag. Usually I'll set up in the family room or I'll decorate the office somehow. And I hadn't done that. And I'm like, we have too many dogs now. I can't set up in the living room. There's nowhere to take the dogs. I have to be in my office. So yeah, Susan's all ready for the holidays.
All right. So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and we will see you on New Year's Adam.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.